You might have to hit OK on something. It'll just tell you that I'm putting it on YouTube too.
Yep, I just got it. Said it was going live stream.
Yep. What's up, Crash It Nation? This is Jonathan Wood, episode number 45 on the Crash It podcast. Today's episode, we're featuring none other than the bad example himself, Ben Porter. Always flying the number 61 roof sign. We appreciate you coming on, Ben.
Thanks for having me. Finally.
Yep. For all you listeners, we got Joshua coming on too. He just popped in there, but so we're just starting out here. Just kind of tell everybody we're fresh right off of Spring X, and you were able to bring home a second. Kind of tell everybody first, what kind of car were you running?
I picked out a 96 Lincoln Town car this time. Kind of went with what I know a little bit more about. Everybody's giving me a hard time last year for taking a new model GM, so I was like, well, I'll just talk. They're talking about how bad these Fords are, and I said, all right, well, let's just go try one at Spring X. But I mean, it helped a lot more this year because we had a lot more running with us, but it was fun. I'm just happy to get lucky and slide up in there.
So tell everybody before you went about the build, did you run into any roadblocks along the way, or?
Man, I mean, I wouldn't really say a roadblock. I started out with that Ford wagon that Matt took. I bought that for an old boy, and I'm like, man, because everybody else was taking wagons to Spring X, and I'm like, well, I want to take a wagon. So I got that and got it home and rolled it over and started cutting rear end out, and it started giving me a fit. And I said, yeah. I rolled it back over, and I said, I'm looking for something else. And Matt said he had a Lincoln. So I swapped them Lincolns, and that Lincoln was bad. So Roy said, well, I got a cleaner Lincoln, and him and Matt just traded Lincolns. So Matt got the Ford wagon, and I got the clean Lincoln. And the build, it went really smooth. I mean, nothing really gave me any problems or any fits. So it was really a smooth, clean build. And once the wife actually let me out of the house to go work on it a little bit. But yeah, it was good. It was a good, clean build. This was actually a fun build to do.
I was waiting for the shoe to come flying across the room.
She's on the other side of the door in her office working. So
it was a good build. And for the people that are listening, your brother Roy ran with you, and then I'm guessing it's your nephew, Matt is?
Yeah.
So do you guys all build out of the same shop, or is it every man for himself during the build process?
I build out of my own shop, out of my mom and dad's, and then Roy and Matt build out their own shop. But I did take my car over there to their house, to Roy's house, because he's got a lift in there, and it was just a lot easier to fix the tranny mount and cross member mount and all that. Just a lot easier to do that while we were there. So
okay, so the stage is set. You got your car built. Kind of tell everybody the story behind the steel on the door. You had a steel logo.
Yeah, the steel deal was basically in memory of my dad. Dad was always messing around with steel chainsaws. He was always cutting wood or cutting trees down, and that was the only kind of chainsaw he ever ran, was a steel brand. So it was in a memory of Dad, when my dad deal with him passing away last July.
Yeah, I think you guys all kind of drove in memory of him this weekend. I seen Matt had something on Facebook about it as well. And so we got to we'll say you guys got to the tech line at the Derby. Kind of take everybody through that wasn't there or has no clue so you guys were in the 35-man bone stock class, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah, we got there.
Go ahead.
We got there on Thursday, I think around 11 o'clock, unloaded, and was in line to go tech by 11:30. And we sat there all day until about 9:30 at night. And then one of them came over and said that they still had 3 more teams that they had to inspect. So that they probably weren't going to get to us Thursday night. So which it was going to take an extra couple hours. So we just covered them up and came back Friday morning and got them inspected Friday morning at 9:30.
Yeah, and what Ben didn't tell you guys is he was sending me freaking Snapchats. It was pouring rain down, and
Oh
I think
yeah,
you guys got a whole freaking seasons, all the different seasons of weather when you guys were out there.
yeah, that was crazy. We got Friday, we got our car inspected, and then it started raining. I mean, shoot, it was 75 degrees Thursdays, 80 degrees. I got sunburnt Thursdays standing in line. And Friday it become a freaking goalie washer and rain and then thundered and lightning and 40-mile-an-hour winds Friday night. And then Saturday ended up getting down in the mid-low 30s, and we had some snow flurries floating around.
Holy smokes.
I think Jennifer posted a picture on Facebook that I was covered up in my hoodie, freezing my balls off. that was about an hour before we went in for our bone stock class.
So what's 8 hours in a tech line look like? Is it start off, everybody's excited, then just as the day goes on, people start getting pissed off, or how was that?
Well, there was some irritation going on, but I mean, we knew we were going to get tech. They came over and told us that they were going to get to us and tech us, and then they came back over like 2.5 hours later and said, "Man, there's no way. We still got 3 other teams that has to be inspected tonight," and then we were looking at 11:30 to midnight. So we just covered our cars up, and I mean, it was no complaints. I mean, it wasn't nothing like Blizzard Bash 3 years ago when we stood outside for 9 hours with snow blowing 12 degrees. But it wasn't bad. It's just a lot of sunlight time. That's all.
So did they just have one tech crew for the full size cars? So there was a team show that was kind of a heavier build, or was that the same tech crew that was doing bone stocks?
Yes, yeah, the same guys. One line, teching all cars. There wasn't like 2 lines or nothing like that. And then when a car didn't pass, which they came back up, and then one tech guy would leave and go re-inspect this car. But yeah, they just had one line, all they had. Same tech guys.
So we kind of questioned amongst ourselves. Did they have like a set time, or so the next day? Did you guys all have to get out of line, or just leave your cars where they were? Or?
No, we just we were already on the side, and they just let everybody else go around us, but we didn't even move our cars. We just left them there overnight, covered them up, and we just left them overnight. But I think everybody had to be teched in by, I think, 10, or everybody had to be teched in by 3 o'clock on Friday. That's what it was, because the Friday show was getting ready to start.
Yeah, so they had a busy. They ran a lot of different heats though, so they had a busy day of teching for sure. 2 days.
Yeah, they did. I think Taylor said Taylor said he inspected until like midnight, and then he finally got back to where he can get some sleep, and he got a phone call at like 1:30 in the morning. He had a semi stuck, and he had to go pull them out with his semi.
Oh man.
Yeah, he did. He said he didn't get back in bed until like 4:30 or 5 for like 2 hours of sleep. Then he was right back to inspecting again.
So tell us about the run. How was the experience pulling out? I mean, you're no stranger to the big stage. You've had several different big shows that you've been to, and we've seen you do well at a lot of big shows, and we've seen you. What was that? What was that? 3 or 4 years? You got your helmet knocked off or something at one of them. But
Yeah, 2017 Bluegrass Bash in Louisville, Kentucky. Right off the line. We were supposed to be running with Bobby Whitaker, but he hit me, and Roy and a couple other. Well, yeah, Roy. He seen it, and it was on from there. From then on, that was a fun show too. It was the Louisville, Kentucky show.
But how was it? Were you nervous at all pulling on the track, or?
In the Louisville show?
No, we're on Spring X.
Spring X, okay.
Sorry, I
no,
kind of sidetracked us.
it's all good. No, not really. Setting in line. I mean, we had our cars. They had us parked around the racetrack, is what it was, around the wall, and we all left there and went and got in line. And they had the gates open, or you could go on either side. But no, I think we sat there for about 25 minutes while they got the little cars out. But no, I never got nervous. I was ready because I knew that it was going to be a little more fun than last year, because last year there was only 3 of us, and this year we had 8 of us, minus the 3 that dropped out that couldn't make it, which is understandable. But yeah, we knew we had a little better fighting chance this year since there was more of us.
Yeah. So, was Destin and Brad going to be in your guys' heat as well?
Yeah, Destin and Brad and Vince, all 3 was going to be in our heat, our class.
Wow. You guys would have had some numbers for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of things would have been different if them 3 would have been in there.
So Vince went down with car troubles getting his car to the track. What was Destin and Brad? What was the deal there?
Destin ended up getting really sick Friday night. Something real and viral, and he ended up going to urgent care first thing Saturday morning. And they said there wasn't nothing they could do, and he straight up looked like crap. So I don't blame him one bit for loading up and heading back. So Brad, he just loaded up with them, and then they just went ahead and came back home, and shoot, they got home and they were able to watch the Derby, watch all of us run.
Yeah, they were watching from the comfort of their living room.
Yeah, they
just
were.
Between friends, Ben, was he really sick, or did he just kind of get scared here?
No, I don't think he was scared. He was pretty upset that he wasn't going to get the run. I mean, he felt bad. He felt like he was leaving us hanging, but there was no way near any of that thought or brought up that way at all. We knew he was sick, so I don't blame him one bit. We would have probably done the same thing.
When you're out there, was there a shot that kind of changed the Derby for you, or was there any time during the Derby where you felt like you had a good chance at winning the show?
Not really. I mean, I was just out there doing my thing. We're just kind of watching Roy's back and watching Matt's back, just kind of seeing who were jumping on them or who they were going after. And, it just kind of, that's why I didn't paint my car purple. I just kind of went regular paint, and nobody knew we were running together. So And then once I jumped on them after Roy and Matt were jumping on them, and then I jumped on them, and they were like, "What the heck?" And then one guy, that black Ford square body with the green said HOK or something on it. Him and Roy hit head on, and Matt hit him in the back, and I got him in the front fender. And he looked at me. He looked at all three of our roof signs, and that's all I could see was him saying the F word really loud. And then he rushed out and broke off.
So was that part of the strategy? It sounds like is you paint your car different, kind of to camouflage yourself against so people don't know you're running together.
Yeah, that was kind of my whole point, and I think Matt was kind of irritated that I didn't paint mine purple, and Roy might have been a little irritated, but I'd never ran a car that wasn't painted before, and I didn't want everybody going the same color, so just kind of throw them off their strategy and keep our strategy going, and that was kind of what I wanted to have thoughts on doing, and it worked out in the long run.
So there was a time that I had a chance to watch you run. You took like a hellacious shot in the passenger door. It was kind of early on. I want to say probably 5 or 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
But kind of rocked your boat, I think, and I think from there on you were really in the zone. Is that kind of what it felt like? Do you remember that shot?
Yeah, I remember it. Oh yeah. I just told myself, I said, I just gotta, like, is this the guy after me, or is he just here to just hit and just go after hitting a bunch of other people? So I kind of watched what he did, and after he left me, he went and half-tracked another car, and I'm like, well, he's just here to hit people. He wasn't here to jumping on me, so I just kind of left him alone. But it did put me in my own little office, and I was more alert after that and paid more attention to what was going on.
Yeah, we know one person that was there to hit was Austin Schaefer. Holy crap.
Yeah,
Before
you
we
ain't
came
kidding.
on here, Ben was giving me a backstory on that, but
yeah, that guy there.
What's the backstory, Ben?
We were talking before it started, and he's like, "I'm here to make junk," and he said, "I'm looking to make one hit. I'm gonna try to find somebody to square up with me in the middle of the track." And about 15 minutes into it, he found him. I probably went back and watched that shot probably 25 or 30 times. And that old boy, he just threw his hands up. He wasn't expecting that at all.
Yeah. Did you get to see that one from your car?
Yeah. Yeah. I could see it. I wouldn't, but like, I don't know. I wasn't far away from it. I heard him coming across the track. But I did see it happen.
What's your reaction when something like that happens? It's like, holy shit, man! This is a derby now.
That was exactly my thought for sure. I knew he was probably going to be done after that, and then that other guy. I kind of watched him, and yeah, he was done too. So.
It looks like the car held up pretty good.
Yeah, man, the car held up great. I was really impressed with it.
The back end rolled up real good.
Yeah, it rolled up pretty nice.
So you described the third or the second place as getting lucky and sliding it in, if I remember right. Is that right? Sliding in, you got lucky and slid it in the second?
Yeah.
Just for our listeners out there, one of Ben's nicknames is the Porter Pounder. So the Porter Pounder. So he's had a lot of practice getting lucky and sliding it in. Is that did that come into play? To kind of get away from your wife to come, to get to build it.
Maybe. He's always blowing my phone up though. But it's all good.
The Porter Pounder back at home.
That's what it is. She's missing it. That's for sure. All that does is causes babies, though.
Hi. What are you talking?
Okay.
What are you talking?
Hi,
Are you gonna say hi?
What's up, buddy? That's the future driver right there.
Yeah.
So where does this rank, Ben, in terms of you, like your personal performances within, just against yourself, really? You've had some good runs and in Topeka. We talked about the Oklahoman. We've seen you drive your ass off in the fair shows around here. Where does this one rank?
I mean, I've had some good runs, but keeping my head level, and I'm gonna have, not just because this was a big show, that ain't got nothing really to do with it, but it just helps when you have more people out there with you to run with you. And everybody says I'm the level-headed one out of between me and Roy and Matt, and I have to agree with that, because they're the two hammers out there. As if anybody did watch Spring X, they're going to see that Roy and Matt were definitely the hammers out there between the three of us. Yeah, I feel like this is probably my favorite, or the best finish I finished. I mean, I've won a lot of derbies, but I just felt more comfortable in this one. I never got nervous or nothing. Even when it got down to the top 4 or 5, I was just kind of just doing my thing. And all I could think of, when I was beating on that 03, all I could think of was your grandpa telling me 15 years ago. He said, if you're going to go in derby, he said, you need to find one car and just beat on that one car. And he said, the time you get him out, he said, half that field's going to be out. And that was kind of my whole model going into this. And I pick on one car until he was out. And then I go on to the next one. And it seemed to work out. I mean, I went from that 03.
You had some battles out there for sure.
We did.
But I was watching too, and man, Matt and Roy, them freaking rear ends on them wagons were like straight up in the air, and
Oh, yeah.
I was getting a kick out of that. They'd come around there, and someone would comment on the what I was watching on, and they would say, "Man, they could drive." A lot of them guys are. One of them was, I think it was Roy. They're like, they could drive that thing backwards, and Roy actually got on Facebook and commented on something saying, "Yeah, I like driving forward better. You can go faster or something."
Yeah. Reverse only has one gear.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, and he's not wrong. No, it's a good time. I don't know if we're going to run next year's Spring X, because we were talking, and they were talking about in the meeting, they're thinking about making a 2-man team next year, because it's a team show. So they're wanting to possibly make the bone stock class. They've been thinking about making it a 2-man team next year. So we're not fully sure on that just yet.
Yep. So before we get off the Spring X real quick, do you have any takeaways from it? Like, what's your top 3 takeaways from Spring X?
I don't think. What?
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't think
Top
I
3
have
takeaways. That's our segment presented by Mamitas.
I don't think I have any, honestly.
So if you were to build the car again, would you do it the exact same way, or would you make any changes?
No, I wouldn't change any changes at all. I'd do it exactly the same build, same way.
So what ended up taking you out?
When that old boy hit me up against that wall, I felt something wet hit me in the face. So I wiped my face, and it was brown. I thought it was water, but it was brown. So,
and I shit himself.
No, it wasn't that. I promise you that. But and then that's when I was backing up, and I looked up, and I guess when he hit me on that driver's side fender, it pushed my firewall over, and it hit the top of my valve cover, and it knocked my valve cover off. So that's where all the smoke and stuff was coming from. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to ruin a good motor. And I didn't have no steering because my steering shaft pulled the gears out of the box and everything. I thought I had some broken tie rods, but there wasn't no tie rod. All tie rods are still attached. I had a bent wheel, but right there where my shaft goes into the box, it literally pulled it all out. I ain't never had one do that before, and I knew I wasn't going nowhere. That old boy he wasn't even hot or anything, so there wasn't no use to ruining my motor or anything. And I tried getting to Cody and tried getting him off the wall, but that old boy cattle guarded me, and he wasn't going to let it happen.
Good run, man. That was an awesome run.
Thank you.
So, kind of for all of our listeners, some of our listeners have been saying they want to know.
Hold on, Jonathan. Before we move on to questions, in this specific build in this class, would you say that the build is more important or the driver?
Man, I don't know. That's a hard one. I mean, the build's good, but I mean, you got to have a driver. I mean, a driver can drive anything, no matter what kind of build he has. I mean, he can put any kind of car, any kind of build in victory lane if he knows how to drive and make the correct hits and shots.
Right. Yeah. I want to say there's some kind there's a line somewhere where you got to have, decent enough equipment to get you there, but then, whenever you're there, the driving skills is what's going to get you, on the podium as opposed to a fourth or fifth or, a top 10 finish.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, you let your guard down for 1 second, you could end up like that old boy getting full track. I mean,
yeah,
never know when someone gets bored in this class.
Yeah, that's why I didn't let my guard down. I mean, I didn't take nothing personal on my hits. Like I said, every hit I took, I literally watched to see what they would do. And 90% of them, they backed up and went the other way. There wasn't nothing personal. They weren't on me specifically. So, and that's kind of where I used to be, where I take it personal and I just jump on them right off the bat, and then I junk my car. This time I just kind of went on and went around it and just seen where everybody else was at.
Where'd 61 come from? Where'd you get that number?
Well, I started derbying in 2013 or 2003. God dang, I did it again. 2003 is first show in California, and my whole family was in the 60s, except for my brother. Of course, Rutro and Nano and Michael and Big John. All of them guys were in the 60s, and that was about the only number really left. I was going to choose 67, but Joey Prater went and ran a show, and he chose 67. I'm like, well, I'll let him have that number. And 61 was really the only number left. And so I ran it, and I just kind of stuck with it. I haven't changed it.
Yep, and I liked. Was this your Spring X car from last year?
No, that's Blizzard Bash 2 years ago.
So I'm gonna shoot this one at you since you've ran Blizzard Bash, Spring X. What atmosphere derby wise do you like the best? Is there a certain facility you like the best, or a certain just crowd demeanor, or anything like that? What's your all-time favorite?
I mean, Blizzard Bash, I mean, that one's hard to top because you got the tunnel drive through, and I ran Louisville, Kentucky, man. I mean, that you go through that tunnel, that's pretty sweet because you pull in and you literally go straight down a hill coming through that tunnel, and you're literally just coming onto the track. Louisville's awesome. I mean, it's right there with Blizzard Bash, and Blizzard Bash got the name just coming through the tunnel, the crowd. But I mean, we had a pretty good crowd section. We got a lot of people come from Central Missouri, drive all the way to Illinois for Spring X. So, I mean, I mean, Blizzard Bash is always going to have it probably, but I'd say Bash.
Yeah, while you hit on the crowd, man, them are some diehard fans. I see everybody freezing. But if you look through the stands on videos that are posted around the internet, or if you buy Derby Nation's videos, you can see the crowd, man. It held up through the whole weekend.
It did. It held
And
up
I was
great.
impressed by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing about just our crowd around here that travels. We say it at Bash all the time. It seems like whenever we go to Blizzard Bash, we have, the best cheering section in the whole stadium. And I've been to other big shows where it seems like, wherever we're going, even if we're going to watch other people we know, it seems like, there's this huge crowd following of, this 4-county area of Miller, Montauk, Cole, and Morgan County. Seems like those guys will travel and support their drivers, and it's awesome to see. It's awesome to be a part of.
Yeah, it is.
Do you have a favorite rule set to build to? You like the stock stuff, or do you like a limited weld? Or
Yeah, I like this stock build that we have for Bash. I mean, it's simple. You can still do things, and I mean, it's a simple build. I mean, we had 70 cars sign up for Spring X, and there was a ton of cars still, people wanting to wait on the waiting list. But and they did have some not show up. But I mean, I feel like light welds are kind of all starting to go back to mods here and there a little bit. And that's what's bringing the stock stuff back out, being pretty popular again, because a lot of people they don't have the time or the money, or, it takes away a lot away from your family. And I've been doing it for 20 years now. So I'm like getting burnt out on it. I'm already burnt out just building this one car, and I still got a car or two to build this year.
what other plans do you have this year?
Well, I got Blizzard Bash, and I got South Dakota show. That's the weekend before Bash, but that one I'm not too sure at the moment if that's going to happen or not, because Jennifer used to live out there, and she said it's stupid cold out there. So I don't want to freaking have to pull a car for 12, 13 hours and freezing my butt off the whole entire time.
Well, what's 4 foot of snow? Just get the sled out.
Yeah. No. So that one may not happen, but the Blizzard Bash, I'll be at Blizzard Bash.
So you got into the gold rush, though. You have
I
a
did.
spot?
I did get into the gold rush. Yeah.
Well, if it doesn't happen, you shouldn't have too hard of a time getting rid of that spot.
No, I've had a guy, my phone's blowed up with it, and I had a guy offer me triple what I paid for it. So I'm just kind of sitting on it. And just in case I come across 2 old iron cars at a decent price, then I'll ponder my way through it and decide. Because if I run Gold Rush, I only got one setup. So I have to come back Sunday and Monday and pull all my stuff out and put it in my Bash car and leave Wednesday, Thursday evening, or Thursday midday.
Well, you can't miss Thursday night.
No, I can't miss Thursday night.
That's the best night of Derby in the year. It's Thursday night at Blizzard Bash, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's the best night of.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be excited to see how they do that this year. With all the changes, and we'll get to hear later on from the Smash It crew about how they're gonna do that stuff. But I try not to look too far ahead, but that's always a show I always look forward to. I love them all, but man, that one I love it.
Yeah.
And where did the Bad Example come from? I see you guys are like Team Bad Example. You and your brothers and your cousins. What's the origin story there?
That all started, I was sitting one night at my mom and dad's. I was a little bitty feller, and started drawing, and I ended up I drew a hand with a wrench in it. I'm like, well, that's a pretty cool little logo. And then I flipped the page and I seen it was a Harley Davidson motorcycle magazine. And I flipped the page and seen another logo and it said Bad Example on it. So I just kind of put the Bad Example with it, and it just kind of stuck with us, and we rolled with it, and it's been with us ever since.
Yeah, I'm wearing the shirt. I dress for the occasion.
Yeah, I have it tattooed on my back. I got that tattoo when I was 16 years old, and down in Springfield, I told my mom and dad that I was going to the grocery store, but instead of turning left at the grocery store, I turned right into a tattoo shop and went in and had it tattooed on me. I got away with it for about 30 minutes, and Roy walked in and he seen my back all pushed up underneath my shirt, and he seen the little tag sticking out like where it was covered up. He could tell it was a tattoo, and he came up and smacked my back, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, I about peed myself on that one.
You did it when you were 16. They probably didn't even card you or nothing, did they?
Oh, no. This guy here was old. He looked like a wizard, and they called him the Magician. That was the name of his tattoo parlor, was the Magician.
Make some magic happen for me, buddy.
That's right. I just asked him how much, and he told me like $150, and I said, "Let's do it." And he said, "Sit down." So we did it. I was gone for about an hour.
Came home, forgot the groceries, and said, "Shoot."
Yep. I didn't find nothing at the store that suited me. So
Is that we're looking at a picture. Looks like a pretty old one, maybe in the late 2000s. Is that the same helmet that you're wearing, that you wore this last weekend at Spring X?
no, I bought that helmet in 2003, and then I just retired that helmet 2 years ago. That show was in Eldon. I ended up winning that night. That's when we were feuding with all the Sedalia guys. I think we had 38 or 42 cars that night. Your dad was putting that show on at that time. But yeah, we were all feuding with all the Sedalia guys, and I ended up winning that night. It come down to me and Chris Smith. Then we hit head on a couple times at the very end.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to ask you. I was kind of scrolling through some Facebook memories a while back ago, and I think it was a picture that for some reason I commented on it or liked it or something. It popped up on my memories. Said Team Purple and Green, and it had you, Roy, Terry McDaniel, and Chris McDaniel on it, I think. Were you on a team or something?
No, we just had that. Some lady on Facebook, I messaged her and asked her if she could make this into this little poster deal, and she said she could do it. And then she sent that to me, and I think Roy has it at his house, or he did. I don't know if he still does or not, but we made a poster out of it, and I put it in a frame and all that for him. It's a pretty neat little deal. But no, we've never ran any like team shows. We thought about it, but I don't know. Maybe in the future.
Man, all them porters and never ran a team show. I think
right?
you guys would do well out there.
Yeah, I don't know. We may try it sometime. We're still, like I said, we're still pondering on the whole Spring X next year. If they do go to a team, we don't know just yet, but we might. It is a blast out there, though, win or lose. So, I mean, I felt like it was a team anyways, with us anyways out there.
Yeah, I don't know. In my opinion, a two-man team isn't really a team. I think that's just no one shows up to a derby by themselves anymore. I think they're just kind of making it more official that way.
Yeah, I think it needs to be at least 3 or 4 person team if it's going to be a team.
Right. So you've been doing this. You said you started in 03. That puts you at 20 years. What's your take on the the progression of the sport, or where it was when you started versus where it's at now, and possibly where it's going?
It's changed a lot. Like when I started, it was your dad putting it on, and I mean, we could use chain and wire to hold the hood and trunk shut. I mean, those were our big shows. I don't know. Everything's going back toward the mod. I feel like slowly going back to mod, heavy weld, and then that's kind of where the whole stock thing comes back in, because there's a lot of guys and that still want to do the stock, and I'm trying to get like the younger generation into it, and our guys are getting out of it. Like we got a new guy, Bungie. He's been doing good these last year or so. He's been running a few stock shows with us. They're running our shows as well.
Yeah. I mean, you can't mention Ben Porter without thinking of probably one of the Lucky Sevens' most dedicated employees for sure. I mean, you show up every time, it seems like Ben's always there.
I might be late, but I'm gonna be there. I'll be late to my own funeral. Everybody knows that. I'm late to everything, but I'll be there.
Yeah, we can always count on Ben showing up to anything, birthday parties, dinners, if we're
Friends miss, whatever.
Yeah, we're going to Mexico. We're gonna have to get them there before the plane leaves. I'm worried about leaving them.
Oh, we ain't going to Mexico.
Oh yeah. Bummer. We'll get you on that.
You ever
track,
heard of
Ben.
Skyhook?
Do what?
So you ever heard of Skyhook? They got a plan.
No. No.
We kind of jumped over the question I normally ask, but how do you get started with Demolition Derby? I know you started in 03, but kind of what got you into the sport?
Well, growing up, he started at a really young age. I mean, I think he was 14 or 15 when he started, and I was only like 2 or 3 years old. And I remember them shoot where Donald's house is and my house is out there now. I mean, there used to be a big tree out there that him or Roy would pull motors out of, or Rutro or Dano. They would be pulling motors out all the time and running cars up and down the road. Shoot, Michael and Big John, Billy. I was small enough but old enough to remember that one day before Versailles, there was like 3 or 4 trailers supposed to come out and pick up all these guys' cars, and none of them showed up. So here it is, 5:30, and Roy and Michael and Big John and Billy, they all got out in the middle of the road and had their own derby with their cars. Well, 6:15 rolled around, all the trailers rolled up. Cars sitting there smoking, but that there's one of my main remembers that I remember growing up, where it all started. And I remember when the bleachers, we were watching derbies on the truck and tractor pull bleachers. It was just railroad ties for walls there back then. That's just kind of small memories I have of that. And then watching your grandpa and your dad and Uncle Do out there running. That, and I always look forward to going to Versailles every year, because man, that was the war derby right there. I was like all these orange cars against all the purple cars with all the Joneses and Blackburns and Gibsons and all them. Yeah, that's kind of how I got started into it, just being around it growing up and with them guys, and just kind of led into it.
Yeah, so it was a family affair type deal there.
Yeah.
So I figured that's what it was, but I never know. I'll always enjoy hearing how people kind of first get introduced to Demolition Derby. And we hear a lot of the Derby guys. It's always you know, a lot of them are family members that get into it, but every now and then you've got a friend or something like that, or a buddy that gets them into it. But
Yeah.
and I think it's kind of the opposite with the figure eight guys. I mean, the figure eight guys, they don't really have a history like a long lineage of derby family or anything like that. They just see it. They look like, oh man, it looks cool. Let's try it out, and then they're in it.
Right.
So
Well, their history is you guys, watching you guys start out 15 years ago or so.
yeah. So what's the one battle that probably your biggest on track battle that you've ever had with the Demolition Derby, that just one memory that sticks out to you?
I don't know why, but every derby I went to, that whether it was Eldon or California, it was always me and Tim Wilson always battling it out everywhere we went. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was just he was just the less driver that I was running with or what, but it just seemed like every time we hit the track, we hooked bumpers. Every heat, every feature, dropped the feature flag, we were looking for each other every time. When I was okay with that, because time we got each other out, you know, half the field was done. But that was probably my big driver deal there.
Well, that's a blast from the past. I haven't heard of him in a long time, but yeah, he was fun to watch. I
He was.
remember watching those battles back in the day. That's
Yeah.
is there one show that got away that you think back that's kind of still haunts you? It's like, you know, it just haunts you like, man, if I would have just done this different, you know, that the outcome would have changed. I would have won, or I would have done better.
Yeah, probably Versailles. The first time I ran Versailles, I ran my wire underneath the header because it was extra long, and I just ran it down underneath the passenger header and zip tied it to my plug wire, and ended up plug wire coming off, and somehow ended up getting onto the header and burnt the header off. And I ended up getting third place that night. And within like 5 or 6 minutes after that, the derby was over. And ever since then, I've been running all my alternator wires on top of the block ever since then.
One of those hard-earned lessons.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's those little lessons that you know, that add up, and then you end up putting together a national show second place, and you got a big fat check that you can hang on your mantle and say, hey, look at all those lessons finally got me.
Heck yeah. I told Jennifer, I said, we're going to move. She asked me where I was going to put this check at. And I'm like, I don't know. I said, I guess I can put it above the fireplace. I'm going to move all this wedding pictures, get it off there, put my check up there.
Hanging on your front door, so everybody's got to see it. The mailman.
Yeah. I told her
Have your
that.
front
I told her them wedding
door
pictures are all out of date.
Yeah, you could have like a replica wrap made for your front door.
Oh, I'm sure it
Put
could
it on.
happen. I can make it happen.
Well, what's the lost where I was going with that one.
So I've seen you've been kind of remember in the past you'd always kind of run your homemade stuff, or kind of, it's not junkyard, but it's the stuff that you've built. I've noticed in the last couple of years you've been accumulating the parts. You know, you got your nice L8 headers. I've seen you bought a transmission. What's the story behind that? Is it just trying to keep up with the Joneses, or is that a necessity nowadays?
Yeah, pretty much. Just trying to, I don't know, move up in the world, I guess. You got to spend money to make money, be in the top, whatever. It's funny because we just had this conversation while I was in inspection line. Me and CJ Barnes, he was giving me crap about my fuel cell. He said I was the only driver there that had my fuel cell mounted to the floorboard. He's like, you were the only one here. So they were concerned. So they started putting some stripes or stuff, painting stripes on my halo. I'm like, what's that for? And he's like, well, you're the only driver here with your fuel cell on the floorboard. So he said, we're going to make sure it don't like rip through or cause a problem. I'm like, I've been running fuel cell on the floor for 20 years. So it's funny you say that because we were talking about how much things have changed, and I went and spent $1,300 for a transmission and went to the Elliott headers. And now the aftermarket bumpers, and it's just crazy. I mean, that's $2,500 right there. But I feel like you got to spend money to make money just to compete or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but you had to feel confident in your stuff that you're putting in for sure. I think that's the main thing is just when you get your car done to be able to take a step back and say, you know what, I'm confident that I've got everything I need to get this job done. Because no one out there likes taking a halfway built car or just something that they're not confident in. Just remember a few years back, I had a car that just didn't run the best, and I was like, yeah, screw it, we'll go to the track. And I just remember I felt like I hated that run that night because it don't matter how good I drove, I wasn't gonna be able to compete that night. So
Yeah.
you just gotta
Yeah.
be confident in your stuff.
Yeah. I had 8 days. I was done 8 days early this year. I've never been done a week before the show was ever done. And I just sitting in it. I had more room in that thing. I'm like, oh, this car's actually pretty comfortable. Normally I got my knees up against the dash or the steering wheel or whatever, but the car sat real comfortable, and car was done with 8 days left to spare. I'm like, this has never happened before. So I had plenty of time to just go over it, check all my nuts and bolts and lug nuts, whatever, everything in general, fluids. Yeah, it was a good feeling to have be done 8 days ahead of time.
Yeah. Well, do you have anyone you want to thank for just helping out with the build at all, or just helping you get there, or helping you sponsor anything, or anything
Yeah, I
like that?
mean, yeah, my brother Roy and Matt, they helped me quite a bit. If I needed anything, they were just literally like 2 minutes down the road, and they came to the shop and helped me. Took the car to their house and put it on the lift, and we pretty much basically just about finished it right then and there. After the lift, that lift sure helps a lot. I'm gonna have to get one for my shop. But yeah,
Put it next to the fireplace. Jen will be real happy then.
yeah, that'll go over well.
Well, Josh, are you gonna put them on the spot or no?
Oh yeah. Yeah. You ready for some rapid fire questions, Bino?
Yep,
Before we
bring
get
them
them
on.
off here.
All right. We'll get you on here. So these are just, short
Sure.
short answers, or you can just make them as long as you want. Bino, we'll fire through them though. All right. Do you have any superstitions or like pre-game rituals before you run or during the build?
No, just get the car done. Look over everything. Make sure all my wires are. Every derby, I try to run new wires. I don't know why. That's just what I do. I don't want to have any wire issues.
What's your favorite part of building the car?
Right after I get done stripping the car, I mean, it's always the trunk that I always do first. I don't know why, but trunk's probably my favorite part of the build.
All right. What do you do for a living?
Truck driver at a scrapyard.
Do you ever crush cars that you're like, God damn, that would make a good derby car?
Oh yeah, all the time. See it every day too.
Who's your biggest fan?
My biggest fan, like Derby
Yeah.
World fan.
It could be non-derby, I guess.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I have a favorite fan.
No, who's your biggest fan? Who cheers for you no matter what?
Who's? I got you. Probably my mom. I mean, she's always the one that's always hollering and screaming.
I would agree. Yeah, you don't want to mess with her
No,
around
no,
a
you don't.
derby. All right. Who's your favorite derby driver?
My favorite Derby driver. Oh man, that's a tough one. Of all time or right recent? Now,
All time.
all time. This is gonna go back a ways. I'm gonna have to say your Uncle Do probably. I enjoyed watching him a lot. He was always fun to watch. And I mean, my brother's right there with him. Roy's right there with him, but Uncle Do really watching him really got me to enjoy this sport.
Do you have like a favorite paint scheme that sticks out? We've shown a couple on here, but is there a favorite paint scheme that you've done or that you've seen?
I mean, we always used to run a lot of purple and green cars, and I kind of faded away with that. And purple and green still my favorite colors, but I really like the camo look on the cars. I really do.
All right, describe your driving style in one word.
Smart.
I like it. I would agree. One thing that if you could, you would change about the sport.
I don't know that I'd change anything. I don't think I could. The sport's really hopping right now.
All right, well, I think we touched on this one, but where and when was your best driving performance?
Probably Spring X.
All right, now what's the most important part of the sport to you?
Just running with friends. I don't know, friends, family. I like when everybody can get out and shake hands and not try to fight you. But yeah, just running with friends and family, or even just seeing the crowd when you pull out on the track. That's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. What separates winners and losers?
Who wants on the ones that who wants to fight at the end of the night? They're the real losers. They suck.
All right, if you had one piece of advice for a rookie driver, what would it be?
Start out stock, work your way up, go to a few shows, look at a few builds. I mean, I don't know any driver that's going to tell you that they can't look at your car. I would just go and look at a few cars and just start out stock and have fun. Don't put too much into it, or you get burnt out, and don't let the money get to you.
All right, if you could put one Demolition Derby or figure eight driver into the Demolition Derby Hall of Fame, who are you going to put in?
Just one?
Just one.
Well, that's hard because there's a lot of them. I got my brother, of course, but I'm gonna have to go with Aaron Stickney. He's won a lot back in the day.
Where's my puppy?
I don't know.
All right. Who's winning the Lucky Sevens point championship this year?
This year, I'm gonna say Chris McDaniel.
All right. All right. This is to get you out of the rapid fire here. If we had an individual walk up music like they do in baseball, what song's playing whenever Ben Porter, the Porter Pounder, rolls in?
Thunderstruck. You know that.
Had to ask.
Yeah,
Podcast listeners don't know that, but you know.
that is true. They weren't at my wedding.
So are you just sick and tired of being wet and cold at these derbies? Like let's see, April 15th, we were at Russellville, wet and cold. You're shivering your ass off, and the next weekend you're going to Spring X, another derby, and you're wet and cold. For anyone that doesn't know, Ben Porter hates being cold and wet. So that's just him sticking it out. I think that says a whole hell of a lot about.
That's facts. Well, I got my hand that I crushed back in 2014, and it's cold all the time. And once it gets cold, it hurts. So yeah, I just don't like to be cold in general. I hate winter with a passion. If I could go to Florida for 4 months at the end of the year, that's where I would be.
Yeah. We appreciate you coming on here. We don't want to keep you too long on the podcast, but
All
we appreciate you coming on. We wish you the best of luck in your derbies this year that you do, and we sure appreciate you everything you do for us at Lucky Sevens for sure. And one thing I gotta say is a lot of people don't know how giving that you've been in the past. You were always the one to step up, and you just say, "Oh, Ben's bringing Power Wheel trophies, or Ben's fronting the whole purse for the powder puff," or it's always Ben and Jen. We're doing this or that, and a lot of drivers they don't know how much you've put into this everything. I mean, it's crazy the amount of time and effort, and just it's just crazy how much effort you put in to some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I probably enjoy it more than doing derbies, honestly. I enjoy flagging and doing all that.
Yeah, it's this podcast has been a lot about Ben the driver, but Ben the person is 20 times better than Ben the driver. I'm just lucky to call you a friend. I know, just like Jonathan said, you're the first guy that stepped up to put some backing toward the powder puff figure eight, and I know those drivers really appreciate it. But what a lot of times people don't see is there's an anonymous donor or something like that, and it's Ben Porter just trying to put a little bit of effort and a little bit of money back into the sport, even past just showing up and flagging for us. So he's Ben, you're a great guy. I know this your Spring X run was for your dad. I could only imagine how happy he'd be watching you and your brother and his grandkids Matt run, and then I know Darren was up there with you guys. But man, I got to think that you guys, if you were doing it for him, you definitely succeeded, and he's probably looking down with a big ass smile on his face.
Oh yeah,
just being prouder than hell of you and Roy and Matt.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. I could go on with stories and stuff. I know he was with me the whole time on that track, and with that build in the shop. I don't make up these stories, but I could tell you some things that went on inside that shop while I was in there building that car that no one would ever believe. But he was in there with me, and I seen some things that was pretty freaking cool. And I ain't gonna lie, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave that shop.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Um,
Thanks for having me for sure.
Yeah. If you guys want to see the Spring X results, I believe there's a Facebook post out there. I'm not going to go through them on here. Uh, Great job to all the drivers. There was a lot of derbies out there this weekend, and that's what I wanted to kind of touch on next real quick. I've had a lot of people sending me videos of like the top hits of the week and stuff like that. In the past, I've been searching for hours and hours and hours, and it's starting to get to the point where a lot of you guys are starting to send me videos. I've had 18 plus 7 is 25 videos sent to me this week. So I really appreciate everybody that's reaching out. Thanks to everybody for allowing me to use your content. Really appreciate it. And a lot of people have been asking me just through like TikTok or Facebook Messenger, how do we get our video on the top 10 if we think we have the hit of the week or something? And the best way is just to send me the video or tell me where to find it, and I'll go find it. You can send it on the Facebook Messenger, the TikTok page, YouTube. You can send it on anything, any platform, and we'll review it. And if it makes the cut, if you could attach a name of who the driver was, that even helps me even more. I want to try to include all the drivers' names on all the clips going forward, but I know that probably won't happen. But I want to get as many drivers' names as I can get out there. So I just wanted to jump on here and say thank you to all the people who's been sending me videos, and give some people some information on how to send me videos in the future.
That's the preferred way, is to, like, use a hashtag or send you a clip, right? So you don't have to go and track it down and clip it and try and get information. Or do you? What's that process? What works best for you?
It doesn't matter. On YouTube, if you find a video on YouTube, or if you're like a content creator, you can put like @crashed it, and you can actually timestamp the hit that you want me to look at on the comment. So you can just do that there. I have a little program on my new computer that helps me get those clips real easy. You don't have to go through the headache of trying to figure out how to send me a clip from a video that's already there. You can just hit @crashed it on YouTube and just timestamp it if you want. On TikTok, you can just send me a message. I've had several just send me share videos to me. It's not really their video, but they just share it. Or you can do like hashtag highlight hub top 10. It automatically comes to me now. So any way that works best for anyone, really. It's the whole design of it was to make it easy for anyone in the world just to say, hey, this is like a nominee right here for the highlight hub. So man, this next week we got some awesome hits coming. But I can't wait. I'm just glad that everyone's starting to reach out, and it's starting to really gain traction. A lot of people are taking interest in it, and that was my hope when I started it, is for everybody just to kind of get noticed for making a hard hit, because usually those guys that are straight junking their stuff, they're not gonna win the show. But this is just a way to recognize those crowd pleasers a little bit more. So, but that's just the way you can do it. And I think that's going to be it for you guys. Got anything else you want to say real quick before we close this episode up?
I don't think.
No, I mean, I'm a company man, so I got to plug some Lucky 7 stuff coming up. But, May 13th, New Bloomfield, that's usually a pretty good show. I think we're getting the water situation figured out, hopefully, for the track. But man, you guys got our drivers got a tough act to follow after Russellville with the good racing. That I think that New Bloomfield track's really going to come on onto its own We're getting in, the first year was real rough. Second year was a little bit better. I think this year racing is going to be real good. And there's a lot of locals there that they get excited, a lot of local support. So it's always good to see those guys. And then
while you're on New Bloomfield, hold on. While you're on New Bloomfield, I forgot. If you have guaranteed, like your kid's coming with the Power Wheel, let us know. Corey Burton is gonna get trophies for the Power Wheels, and he's really needing to know how many trophies to order. So if you're listening to this podcast, or you know someone that you're listening to it, and you know someone that has a kid that's gonna show up with a Power Wheel, you need to let us know. We don't want to leave anyone out. So
I'll put something on the page and we'll get you a list running. That's probably a little bit better than that.
yeah,
But
it will be.
yeah. Yeah, and then June 10th, I think there's a lot of people that's looking forward to that. That's the our first Demolition Derby. It's actually Demolition Derby and Figure Eight. It's the next show after New Bloomfield. But we'll be running the super stock class, and then we've got our gut and go. So I think there's a lot of eyes, across Missouri and even other states that are kind of wanting to see how that show works out. So we're excited about that. Excited about the new class. We kind of made a little bit of mention of it, but looks like Blizzard Bash actually added that class or a similar class to their team bracket there. So I think that's just kind of showing that, I think Ben said, he mentioned that the sport's stepping into mods or going towards mods. And it seems like, the mod class that was at Blizzard Bash, that's going down to the super stock, and then the stock class is going up to the super stock. So it's kind of meshing in that mod and that mod stock middle there with the super stock. And then the bone stock classes are coming back just because, people don't want to move up. They'd rather go back down. So I think the sport's just in a good place right now, but I'm excited to see how that class plays out.
Yeah, we're gonna try to next week to dive into the super stock with JM Derby products. We're gonna see if we can get them on the podcast next week if timing works out for all of us. So
yeah, I had a chance to talk to him about, just mapping out different Mag Dog prizes and kind of what we're going to do for the points deal and what JM Derby Products is gonna give out. And man, he is the amount of money and parts that he's putting towards Lucky Seven Super Stock class is something. I'm kind of taken aback by it. We're just so, again, we're so dang blessed to have the support that we have. I think he said, I'll have to confirm this. Don't quote me on it, but I think the June 10th he's giving away like a $650 rear end bracing kit to the Mad Dog in the super stock class. So that'll be fun to watch.
yeah, we'll get him on here and we'll talk about some future stuff that he's got going on for Lucky Sevens and stuff like that. So, but I think that's gonna do it for episode number 45 on the podcast. We thank everybody for listening. Thank you all for all the feedback. There'll be another poll. Looks like last week's poll on who had the best build first night. Looked like James Fisher was our top poll winner on that. I'm gonna double check though. That was as of 2 days ago.
Ooh, that's gonna spark some fires.
But there's gonna be a poll every week on something. I'll come up with something. If you're on Spotify, you can just click on the episode and it'll scroll down. There'll be a poll for something. So
does it show who voted for that?
I don't know really. It just shows how many votes.
Okay.
Yeah, James Fisher 6 times. No. But yep, that'll do it. Just go out there and send it like I always say. Thanks for listening.